It's Reija, and welcome to my May comics reading wrap-up. I got a lot of manga and graphic novels read during May, so without further ado, let's get started. First up, I will quickly mention that I did read volumes 6 through 9 of Berserk by Kentaro Miura. I will not go over any plot details because I am getting quite far into the series. I will say that I'm quite disappointed that Berserk hasn't been very consistent, because when I was first reading it as a teenager, I was amazed at how good it was and how amazing it was, and I really liked it. So I was expecting to have those same feelings for my reread as well, but I have to say that it hasn't held up in all aspects, and after reading some interviews with Kentaro Miura where he explained his work process, I can understand why Berserk isn't as consistent, because Miura has gone on record saying that when he started Berserk, he didn't have much of anything planned out. He's just been kind of winging it as he's gone along all these years. So that really explains why the work is kind of all over the place in the beginning. I am happy to say that volumes 8 and 9 were really good, and I was really pleasantly surprised by that. I'm happy to continue on in the series, though now that I'm nearing the dreaded Eclipse arc, I will take a much needed break and focus on something a little bit happier for the moment. Next graphic novel I read was Everyone's an Alien When You're an Alien Too, by Jomny Sun, and I didn't really like it. I gave it 2 stars. I thought that the art was it was cute. It was cute, I guess, but it wasn't really my style. I think it worked well for the content, for the context. The cutesy art style was appropriate for the narrative. But the narrative was the thing I had more problems with. I just could not get down with the kind of kitchen counter psychology and philosophy, and also the amount of typos just completely threw me off the rails, because I am slightly dyslexic and English is not my first language, so there's that thing where I have a barrier of entry because I'm translating the work in my head into Finnish anyway. But then when there were those typos and the text was riddled with them, it was like every time I encountered a typo, my brain just ground to a halt. And it took me hours to read that one book, and there isn't much text in it. So I should warn people to be aware of that if you're going to try reading it, because for me at least, as a dyslexic person, it was very tough to get into it. So that's why I gave it 2 stars. It wasn't terrible, but I just couldn't get into it. Then I read the first 2 volumes of Mushishi by Yuki Urashibara, and I quite enjoyed them. The first one was a 3.5-star read for me, but the second one was already a huge improvement. I thought that these were very atmospheric, kind of creepy, kind of surreal, and I thought that they were really innovative and really went into a direction that I wasn't expecting, and I haven't seen these kinds of stories in fantasy or horror genre before, and this is a beautiful blend of fantasy and horror. And it follows this character called Ginkgo, who is a Mushishi. He is a kind of medicine man who works with spirits. And it's about his travels throughout Japan in an undeterminate timeline, and how he encounters people and Mushi and helps people deal with them. And some of the stories are super creepy and some of them are more fantastical, and I really enjoyed them, and I will be continuing with the series. Then I read Koko Be Good by Jen Wang, and I have to say that I enjoyed the art in this a lot better than I did the story. This is about young adults, 20-somethings and one minor, who are trying to find out what they want to do with their lives, what their dreams are, and in the case of some, trying to be better people. And it's about these different people's struggles. There's Koko, the titular character, who's this kind of a spaz, kind of rambunctious troublemaker type character. And then there's John, who is kind of lukewarm about everything, doesn't really know what he wants to do in life, and is kind of swept along by other people. And then there is Rowan, who is Chinese American, and he's just kind of smothering his own dreams of liking and starring in musicals in favor of what his family wants him to do. And on the surface, the story sounds really amazing, but it actually doesn't really do much. The story is rather simplistic and doesn't get explored much. Like, these characters don't get developed. I don't. It's hard. It's really hard to describe, because I felt that there was a lot of promise in the story, and I get what Jen Wang was attempting to do here, but the development of these character relationships and how they were dealt with felt so lackluster that I ended up giving this 2.5 stars. It was quite okay, but I mostly enjoyed it for the art, which was amazing. I would not read this again, and there was also the added minus of every single character in this book, bar Rowan's big sister, being completely unsympathetic, and I was kind of unable to empathize with their situations, because most of these characters were completely selfish and unapologetic about that. So I wasn't feeling the story, but the art was super pretty. And the last graphic novel that I read, and probably the best one that I read in May, was The 100 Nights of Hero by Isabel Greenberg. And I really liked this so much. The premise is that there are these two women, Hero and Cherry, who are lovers. But Cherry is married to this complete ass clown of a man, who then makes a bet with his equally ass clown of a man friend, that if his friend can seduce Cherry, then he will get his friend's castle, and if he cannot seduce Cherry, then the husband would get his friend's castle. Like, basically they were making a bet on Cherry's virtue in order to gain some property, as you do. And as the guy is going on to seduce Cherry, Cherry's lover hero steps in to tell stories every night in order to keep the man at bay. So it is a kind of retelling on Scheherazade and the 1001 Nights. And I really like this. There were nods to old fairy tales, old oral storytelling tradition. The humor in this is very on point and kind of meta. It pokes fun at old traditions and storytelling conventions, and the humor is also very feminist and kind of critiques the way women's place has traditionally been in history and stuff, and I just loved it. I wasn't a huge fan of the art. Like, this art style just isn't for me. It is kind of messy and very kind of stream of consciousness, just kind of sketched together. The characters change shape, their faces change and stuff like that, so there isn't even an effort in consistency. Which is style that I generally am not very drawn to, but it works well for this because it kind of reminds me of those old medieval tapestries. Really enjoyed this. Highly recommend. I think I gave this one 4 stars, and I had so much fun reading this. Loved this so much. And there you have it. Those were all the manga and graphic novels that I read during the month of May. Have you read any of these? Did any of them sound interesting to you? Have you been having fun following my struggles with Berserk? Leave me a comment down below, and if you like this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel if you want to see more, and I will see you in another video very soon. Bye bye!